Hi class, Miss Gilbert here. Today we're going to be learning how to add fractions. But before we get started, I want to spend some time reviewing what we already know about addition and fractions. First of all, what is a fraction? Remember that a fraction is a part of a whole. So if we look at this pizza here, we can see that it is one whole pizza divided up into 8 equal parts. So if I were to take just one slice of this pizza, that would be a fraction of the pizza because it is one part of the whole. If I was to do that, if I was to take just one slice of pizza, how would I write that as a fraction? Well, remember that when we write fractions, we use two numbers separated by a bar. So that top number is called the numerator. And what the numerator does is it tells us the number of parts that are being counted. In this case, we are only taking one slice of pizza, so the number of parts being counted would be 1. So we would have 1 in the numerator. And then we have our bar. Now what about that second number, the denominator? What does that tell us? Well, that actually tells us the total number of parts in the whole. So remember that our pizza right here is divided up into 8 equal parts. So there are 8 equal parts in all. So in the denominator, we would put 8. So one slice of pizza would be 1/8 of the whole. Now there are many different ways to show fractions. Here I have 3 different ways that you can show 1/4. First, if you look at this fraction strip, you can see that it's divided into 4 equal parts. So if we were to take just one of those parts, that would be 1/4. Here you can see this cake that's divided up into 4 equal slices. But then someone came along and decided that they wanted to eat one of the slices. So we could say that somebody ate 1/4 of this cake. We can also think of fractions as parts of a set. So if someone showed you these peppers here and they said, what fraction of these peppers are yellow, you could look at each of the peppers as part of the whole, and you could say that 1/4, or 1 out of the 4 peppers, are yellow. So these are just a few different ways that you can think of fractions or show fractions. For this lesson, we are mainly going to be using fraction circles to represent fractions. Alright, so now that we've reviewed some of our fraction concepts, let's look at addition. Remember that addition is putting 2 or more things or groups of things together. So for example, if you had 4 cookies and I had 3 cookies and we put all of our cookies together, that would give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cookies in all. So 4 plus 3 equals 7. If you put 4 and 3 together, that equals 7. So just remember that addition is putting together. Alright, so what about adding fractions? Well, if fractions are parts of a whole and addition is putting things together, then it makes sense that to add fractions, you just put those parts together. So in this example, we can do just that. You can see right here, we have a circle and it's divided up into 6 equal parts. And 2 of those parts are being counted. So we would write that as 2/6. Moving on to here, this is also divided into 6 equal parts, and 3 of those parts are being counted. So we would write that as 3/6. Finally, if we wanted to add all of these parts together, we would simply add the 2 blue sixths, and then the 3 orange sixths together. And then once we've added these, we can count them up to see what the total would be. So it looks like we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sixths in all. And we could also write this as 2 sixths plus 3 sixths equals 5 sixths. All right, now it's your turn. Go ahead and pause this video, get out your fraction circles, and see if you can add these eighths together to figure out what the total would be. And once you come back, we'll solve this together. All right, so now that you're back, let's go ahead and work out this problem. So here we have a circle and it's divided up into 8 equal parts, and 4 of those eighths are being counted. So we would write that as 4 eighths. Here we have the same thing, it's divided into eighths, and 2 of those eighths are being counted. So that would be 2 eighths. And then if we were to add all of these together, we would simply add 1, 2, 3, 4 eighths. And then if we added 2 more, that would be 5, 6 eighths. We could also write this as 4 eighths plus 2 eighths equals 6 eighths. All right, finally, this is our last example, and I want you to go ahead and pause this video and try this on your own with your fraction circles, but I will say this one might be a little bit different. So once you are finished, we can go over this together. All right, you're back. Let's go over this example. So here we have this circle, and there are 3 equal parts, and 2 of them are being counted. So we would say this is 2/3. Same thing here, 3 equal parts, and 2 are being counted. So that would be 2/3. And finally, if we were to put these thirds together, we have 2 blue ones, right? 1, 2, 2 blue thirds. And then we have 2 orange thirds as well that we need to add to this. So here's 1. Now, at this point, this is why I said this example was a little bit different, because you might have noticed that we've kind of run out of space here. But that's perfectly fine. Sometimes you're going to have problems where you end up with an answer that is greater than 1 whole. And what you want to do, if you run out of space, you can just add another third on the outside of the 1 whole. So let me show you what you mean. Let me just make another circle here, and we can add our last third, our last orange third, on the outside of that 1 hole. All right, so now at this point, you can just count up. See, not that much has changed. We can still just count up the total number of thirds. It looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4 thirds. We could also write this as 2/3 plus 2/3 equals 4/3. And something you might have noticed is you might have noticed that 4/3 is the same as 1 whole and 1 more third. So you could write this either way. All right, while we were working through those example problems, did you notice anything? Turns out there is a very important rule for adding fractions, and I'm curious to see if you picked up on it. If not, that's all right. Let me give you a hint. Let's take a look at our first problem. We did 2/6 plus 3/6 equals 5/6. look very closely at the top numbers, the numerators, and the bottom numbers, the denominators. Do you notice anything? All right, let's go ahead and see what this rule is. Turns out the number one rule for adding fractions is add the numerators, not the denominators. So if we look back at our example, we did 2 plus 3 equals 5, but 6 plus 6, that does not quite equal 6. So we added the top numbers and not the bottom numbers. Do you have any idea why that might be? Well, if you think back to our problem with the cookies, it kind of makes sense. Remember that we did 4 cookies plus 3 cookies equals 7 cookies. We didn't say 4 cookies plus 3 cookies equals 7 bananas. That wouldn't make any sense. We didn't change the type of thing we were adding. In the same way, when we're adding these sixths, we don't want to change the type of fraction we are adding. So we are adding sixths, so our answer should be in sixths. 2 sixths plus 3 sixths equals 5 sixths. So we only want to add the numerators and not the denominators. And you can see over here in these other two examples, we use the same rule without even knowing it. All right, so that's all I have for today. Don't forget to do your homework for today, and I will see you on Tuesday.